All right, well, hello everyone. Welcome to 2021. Hopefully you've got over your hangover from celebrating the eventual demise of 2020. I know we're all really glad to put that year in the rearview mirror. We thought we'd start out with a bit of fun with our first video of the year. My co-founder, Melanie, celebrated her birthday already this year, 2nd of January. We'll talk a bit more about that in a minute. And we thought, well, rather than just writing a blog post about her and letting her answer questions, we'll put her on the spot and actually do a rapid fire real-time questions here. So some of these are about work. Some of them are a little bit more about Melanie, give everybody a bit of insight into how she thinks. So are you ready?
This crazy person you work with?
Yeah, something like that. All right, well, let's start with, I've got my list of questions here. Let's start with something about work. So, we've recently refocused Strategic Piece on information-driven customer experience. What's your favorite definition of customer experience and why is it so important?
As opposed to some other types of definitions, I can't point towards, it's so-and-so's definition of customer experience. The way I like to define it is it's every single interaction or impression that your customer or potential customer has with you. And that can be what other people are saying about you. You don't even have to be around for that. And the reason why I like that is it's very all-encompassing. I think it really helps align businesses around their customer. And I think that the customer should always be at the focal point of whatever a company does.
And we hear a lot about the customer is always right and everything should be customer-centric. But
I don't always agree with. I don't think the customer is always right. But I think that we need to be very intentional and thoughtful about what we're putting out there for the customer, so that we can help them always be right.
Nice. All right, ready for the next one? Marketing gets shortchanged by a lot of businesses. Sales is first, marketing reporting to sales, marketing budget's always one of the first ones to get cut. So why do you think that is? And what's your advice to leaders that are preparing to go out there and kind of go to bat for their marketing department or their marketing budget?
So I think there are a couple of reasons why this happens. One is, I would love to remember who told me this when I was like in college or early in my professional career. But when they were giving me advice about, just career advice, it was, you're more likely to work your way up the leadership of the company the closer you are to the money. And I think marketing has had a real challenge connecting how marketing connects to the money and owning that. And it's one of the reasons why technology and marketing really excites me, is because it makes it so much easier for marketers to make that connection.
Right.
I think it's a great thing how buyers have changed their process in purchasing, because it brings marketing closer and closer to that money. And I think that's why it's been much easier for sales to attribute, okay, here's the revenue I brought in. But it's been harder for marketing to do that. And I also think that traditionally marketing has been a career path that people picked if they were interested in business, but not good at math. So the math things are going to go, that's where it's like, okay, I could go into finance, but I'm not strong at that. And so it's been more of where the creative brains have gone, and there's definitely space for that. But those aren't people who are going to be able to necessarily be the most skilled at advocating for themselves to someone like a CFO or a CEO who's probably, had a technical background, and those brains just work differently. And so I think we've had a problem speaking the same language.
So you think with the aid of technology, we're heading into an era where sales and marketing get a bit more parity in the organization?
I'd like to see that.
Wow, that wasn't particularly optimistic. All right, moving swiftly on. Let's talk a little bit about strategic.
I think both have to really change what they're doing.
Yeah, and marketing, of course, we've been advocates of marketing for a while, and bringing the two groups more into one rather than thinking them of sales and marketing and service, of course.
Exactly, and you brought in service, and I think marketing has been a thing for the last 5-10 years, and I'm really excited to see the number of people that are. I saw someone use the term the other day, market service or something, something.
Market vice.
Yeah, exactly. Because all three really have to work together. And so to me, that the unifier is that they all are in different capacities, outward facing departments. Like they're all the ones who are interacting with customers. And so they should be unified and they should be working together, not competing with each other.
Awesome. All right, number 3, let's talk about strategic peace. When you think about strategic peace, this thing that we are creating, what are some of the things that you want people to know about us and our business?
I think one thing that really sets us apart is that we're business people first and marketing second. You know, I remember when I was the director of marketing at Surge, and we worked with an agency, and it was a social media agency, and they did great work for social media. But every person I talked to, not necessarily the founder, but the people I was interacting with on a day-to-day basis, if you ask them, okay, so why do you think it's important for us to have a presence on Facebook? They couldn't answer that question. It was like, you know, beyond, well, everybody's doing it, or that kind of thing. And so I think we have a unique approach to marketing because we are that business first. We are business first people. I think one thing that really excites me is your industry experience. So the fact that you have really deep experience in oil and gas and can walk into a room and hold your own with, because you are an engineer and, you know, those engineers respect you. I think that that's really exciting. I think we have a different and I have industry experience as well. It might be minuscule compared to your very, very long career.
Wow. I know you had a birthday, but then they had to call me old.
But at the same time, I think for a lot of our customers, the fact that we aren't just agency people, that we've worked even just in-house, I think adds a lot, like that gives us some more value that we're able to add. And the other thing is, I think we're really empathetic. I mean, we eat our own dog food. I mean, you're the one who's convincing me to ramp up our own marketing, which makes me nervous, you know, so I understand for our clients where it's like, you know, that nervy feeling that you get in your stomach where you're like, oh, I'm going to launch a campaign and I don't know if it's going to work or not. And I really want to add value and I really want to prove myself. And, you know, so we're not just telling people what to do. I think we really follow our own doctrine. We've built our customer journey maps. We work on our messaging. We regularly work on our website and constantly try to improve what we're doing.
Cool. All right, let's mix in some fun ones here. These are in a random order. So why choose cats over dogs?
So I like both. I grew up with dogs, hated cats. Then I moved to Canada and I really missed having a pet, but I did not want to walk a dog when it was 40 below outside. And cats were really okay. Like in Montreal, it's okay to like cats. And I feel like in Houston, people judge you for cats. So I got one cat, Sasquatch was his name, and he was awesome. And then it was just him for a while, and then he desperately needed a friend because he is like the most energetic creature of any animal I think I've ever encountered in my life. So then I got a second cat named Lenny, and they've both been phenomenal. Sasquatch unfortunately passed away, but both so social and friendly and snuggly, and so it's a really great companionship. And I don't have to worry about barking, and I don't have to worry about walking them. And if I travel, like they're okay on their own overnight. And so it's a nice low maintenance option.
So you didn't go with the because cat owners are more intelligent than dog owners.
I'll let you own that one, even though you were an inheritor of Lenny.
Let's see if he puts in an appearance at some point during these questions.
I did turn the fireplace on, so he's really quite snuggly and happy, rotisserie himself.
Doing what cats do best.
Yeah.
All right, well then we should really, since this is supposed to be about you, ask you about you. I mean, you just celebrated your birthday on January the 2nd, which sounds like it should suck because it's right after Christmas. Are there any good things about having your birthday on January the 2nd?
There are, you know, and it never bothered me when I was a kid, even though so my grandparents lived in LA. My grandmother is still there, and we would drive out for Christmas. And most years, we would be driving back from LA to Houston, which is 24 hours of driving on my birthday. And so most of my childhood birthdays, we spent driving 15 hours from LA to Fort Stockton, Texas. And I've celebrated many a birthday dinner at the Murray Calendars in El Paso. But it was always kind of fun because my dad's birthday always fell on the day when we were driving out. And so it was kind of like a nice bookend to the trip, birthday dinners in El Paso. And it's harder actually, I think, because of New Year's than Christmas. Because
Everyone's hungover on your birthday.
As an adult, no one really wants to do anything on January 2nd. Lots of people are still traveling. And then if you want to celebrate with people, they're like, God, you want to celebrate your birthday 2 weeks later? Like, as an adult, that's kind of a weird thing to do. Yeah. You look like an attention seeker. But I do enjoy it. I mean, I love cold weather. And so I like that, I can have cozy birthdays. I don't think I've ever had to work on my birthday, which is a really nice.
Also, yeah. And then your half-year birthday will be on July 2nd, which will be right by July 4th. So you get another public holiday to mess with.
Exactly. Well, now I have a niece who was born on July 4th. So we're kind of like birthday buddies. And my parents did a good job. Like, they made a half birthday a thing because they were worried about this. Of course, that I didn't realize it wasn't a thing for other people. And then I got teased relentlessly as I grew up about, it's my half birthday today. But it's a bit of fun.
So since you were poking fun at me being older earlier on, I mean, they say older means wiser, of course. So what wisdom has 2020 bestowed on you, the year that was?
I mean, I think everyone has the lessons of 2020, man. I mean, patience, a lot of patience, which is not what I'm known for. Going with the flow, being willing to adapt and change plans. I mean, I've never canceled so many trips in my life. I hope I, as a whole, don't ever have to cancel as many trips for the rest of my life as we had to cancel this year.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed, having some downtime. And, I think for us, and I will speak for us at this point, Matt, it's easier because we already worked from home. We already worked together.
Absolutely.
I think in a lot of ways we were very privileged. We weren't living alone. We like our house. We have your kids, but they're older. So they're, we're not trying to entertain a 5-year-old or a 3-year-old. But my other lesson was, having been stuck in Houston all summer, I have to get out of town for the summer. No more. That's my other lesson of 2020.
So,
I thought of another reason why I like my birthday being on January 2nd. And that's because when people set goals for the whole, for the year, mine, I don't have to set 6 months. I just set them all at once. I have this super deep introspective, end of the year, start of the year. And then I can go on autopilot with it the rest of the year.
That's not what goals are for. You don't get a mid-year reset. So you've, like the rest of us, spent a lot of time at home. Luckily for you, you love to read. Anyone that knows you well knows that, you're a bookworm. You've always got your nose in a book when you can. So what are a couple of your favorite reads recently that you think our audience might be interested in picking up?
Yeah, so I'm actually trying to figure out a way to read more business books. So if someone is here looking for business book recommendations, I'm not really that person. I wish I was. I would like to read more of that stuff. But what really excites me is fiction. And I will logically make the argument of, that's good creative engagement and a lot of marketing is storytelling. And that's what I'm picking up. And I think we pick up ideas from lots of different places. And actually, because I love reading historical fiction, I think I learn a lot of facts along the way, even though it's fiction. And I always have fun at the end of those books of figuring out what was actually real and what the author made up.
Sounds just like some of our customers.
You said it, not me.
We love you all.
So I'm not going to really speak on the business side, but definitely on the fiction side, some of my favorites, and I'll, limit it to this year because otherwise
How long have we got?
Exactly. I was like, are we speaking for an hour about books? So one of my favorite books I read this year was called The Mercies, which is Kiran Millwood Hargrave's book about women in Norway in 1617, I want to say. So early 17th century Norway. And there's at the start of the book, a storm that blows up from out of nowhere, and all of the men of this little tiny fishing village get killed. And so it's only women that are left. And it's about how they rise to that occasion and restructure social networks and who's doing what in the village. And then it's got some other components to it of gender roles and religious stuff as Norway was losing its, I don't want to say pagan roots, but the native religions and Christianity was taking over. And so that was a really interesting book. And fun fact, it was written by one of Matt's former boss's daughters, which was a hilarious coincidence.
Yeah, you had no idea when you bought the book that's who she was, right?
None.
Shout out Martin Millwood Hargrave.
Exactly.
Hope you're well.
I really enjoyed this book, Freshwater for Flowers, which is about a woman who ends up becoming I guess a cemetery keeper. I don't know what the person who manages a cemetery. And a guy shows up. His mother has just passed away and has asked for her ashes to be buried or kept along with a man's grave and he's never heard of this man. And so it has a lot to do with that background and his story. And it's very French and it's very wonderful. And it makes me want to drink wine at lunch all the time. But it's a really different book and it's very beautifully written. I realized that I really enjoy reading. I'm going through this phase where I'm really enjoying books written by women. I feel like recently, every time I've been picking up a book by a man, and some of my favorite books are written by men. 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez is my all-time favorite book, up there with East of Eden by John Steinbeck. But recently, it's just not been clicking for me. So I'm trying to just kind of lean into that mode. And I guess on the nonfiction side, reading How to Be an Antiracist, which is a really interesting book. And I'm trying to be very thoughtful and diligent and slow reading that. I'm not plowing my way through that.
Yeah, that's not a light half-hour read in front of the fireplace.
No, it's not. I guess
worthy of the time.
Yeah, I guess the other book I would recommend is Big Magic by Liz Gilbert, because I can't have a conversation without talking about how wonderful she is. And that's very much of everyone getting in tune with their own creativity. So that's my other nonfiction book recommendation.
Awesome. Very nice. Well, we'll put the links to some of those in the comments on the blog post here. Let's go back to travel, because you and I both love to travel. We've been very fortunate, seeing a lot of different parts of the world. So apart from catching up with friends and relatives who we haven't seen in ages, once travel is feasible again, what are the sort of top 3 or 4 places that you'd like to go?
Well, we were supposed to go on safari in South Africa this year, and that got pushed to next year. So hopefully we'll be able to do that. The other places at the top of some of them are places that we canceled too. I was really excited to go to Copenhagen. I'd really love to go anywhere in Scandinavia. So that's also very high on my list. One of my bucket list trips is Japan. I'd love to go my dream has always been to go see the cherry blossoms blooming. Yeah. Although I keep seeing pictures of Japan in the spring and the winter, or the fall and the winter, when the leaves are turning and then it gets snowy and it just looks beautiful. So now I'm like, I don't care when it is. This is the other impact of COVID. I'm like, I don't care when anything is. I just want to start traveling again. And who am I to have to go when a specific tree is blooming? So yeah, so those are my top 3.
3 out of 50, probably, if we, again, another 1 hour conversation about all the places we can go. All right, let's go back to work. What do you find most frustrating about working with B2B companies? And in particular, the sort of helping them implement technology, helping them, grow their revenue in the way that we're hoping to, strategic piece.
I think what I wish people could see is the potential that B2B companies have to be creative and to be fun and to look at what's happening in B2C and implement it. And I think there's this mentality that, we're selling this accounting software, or we're selling this piece of oil field equipment, or we're selling, whatever it is. And it's like, my business is boring. My marketing and sales has to be boring, and my brand has to be very corporate. And we're selling to, people in business. And I think there's so much more opportunity to stand out by having some personality and having fun and doing things that other people haven't started doing yet in your industry. To me, it's a big business opportunity. I think your staff will have a lot more fun doing, working at a company like that. I think customers will engage with that more. And I think there's this I think some of that's driven from the belief that your business is boring, which it's not. Like, you can make, I think, even some boring stuff, you can make them fun. And I think it's that misconception that if you're in a B2B sales, someone's making that purchase, that it's a logical decision. Yeah. And, it was really eye-opening for me. I read there's a survey or research that was done a couple years ago about actually B2B purchases are more of an emotional decision-making process than a B2C sale.
Right.
Because people are putting their jobs on the line, or their professional reputation. And that's a big risk. So it's people will, and I, was listening to a podcast yesterday, and this guy, Todd Capone, wrote this book called The Transparent Sales. And he brought up the concept that been pointed out in human decision-making, we're all still making decisions based on emotions. And then we use logic to back up, and reinforce what position we were basically already come to the conclusion, like, that's the right decision.
Yep.
And so I think that if you can establish that emotional connection, which to me happens by thinking about emotions and fun and branding and the creative side, I think, you don't have to be stuffy just because you're selling to a corporate audience. And I'm excited because I think, some of our clients do break that mold a bit. I think Molecule, in the energy trading software space, which, they're selling to very...
Sounds pretty dry and geeky.
Right. And it is, but,
They do a good job.
They have a really bold brand, and they've been intentional about that. And it really resonates in their market.
Well, and hopefully as we're seeing the sort of era of the gray-haired white man being the boss and decision maker in all of these B2B companies kind of coming to an end, and more EQ making its way up the managerial ladder, and hopefully some of the...
It would be great to see that. And it would be great to see some of the white men that are in the leadership positions have some personality and actually take some risks.
It's in there somewhere.
Have some fun.
It's in there somewhere. It's not what got them where they are, so it's hard for them to let go of that.
Yeah.
Well, here's an interesting one. Again, these are in a very random order.
They are.
In what ways are you most like your parents? What makes you go, oh my God, I'm becoming my mother/father?
So my mom is very enthusiastic, and she's a lot like her mom in that way. Just very positive, quite gushy. And I can tell when I'm trying to cheer up my stepkids that I'm like, oh my gosh, I can hear my mom coming through. But, she's a lot of fun. And my mom is also very open-minded and non-confrontational. And I think that has instilled in me an ability to go with the flow. And, I'm not very rigid with a lot of things. And it's, I can be pretty flexible with how we approach things. And so I think that has a good place in business. And my dad, is super pragmatic and no bullshit. And I think, very hard worker. And so I think that work ethic and just, I'll call it radical candor. I think I have that. I know when I'm doing deep thinking, you tell me I look like my dad. So maybe that's when it shows up the most. But, I think that's also where I get, I'm flexible, but I lack patience. And that might be the less, I think that there's a place for that in business too, where it's like, I'm not going to just sit here and entertain bad ideas. But it's hard to get that balance right.
Well, hopefully they'll both still be speaking to you after they watch this. I think.
Yeah, I've said worse to them.
I think they'll see themselves in those answers. But so one that, and this one might be the point at which your dad switches off. I know you'd love to go back to college. You've always talked about, I wish I could go back, get my PhD, maybe even teach. What subject would you pick if you did that? And what is it that draws you to that university environment?
So I'm sure my dad would have actually turned off at the cat versus dog question. So I think I can safely answer this one. I never wanted to leave college as an undergrad. When I started working, and I lived by the University McGill that I went to for undergrad, and I would walk through campus, to and from work. And I would just like stare longingly at everyone's backpacks and wonder about what books they had in there and wish I could go to the library. And so I was really excited to go to grad school. And then again in grad school, it was like everyone around me is like, oh man, I can't wait to get back to work. And I'm like, I love the collegiate environment. And I always had, I mean, I was researching colleges and visiting them when I was 12 and 13. So it's one of those things I will geek out on. And everything from the sports to the classes. I mean, it's not just one thing. In terms of what I would study, I mean, part of me would love to just give an application into a college and say, like, I just want to do a PhD. You tell me which program you want me to be in. Like, if you just accept me to one, like, I'll take it. Yeah. I would think something around, so part of me, if I went down like my liberal arts background, which is, you know, what I studied in undergrad in international development, I would love to do something anthropology, psychology. Part of me likes history, like a big part of me. I mean, that's the draw to historical fiction, interest in political science. Sociology never really took off with me. So I think that was interesting for me when I didn't realize this right away, but as a marketer, one of the things I think I do well as a marketer is because I'm interested in people and interested in what makes them tick. For sure. And making them feel special and improving their lives and that kind of thing. And so that would be really fun. And then, you know, the business side of me is like, yeah, hey, I would love to teach marketing and customer experience. And, you know, I love it when Rice or U of H, you know, I get to do guest lectures sometimes on entrepreneurship and or marketing for startups, and that's always a blast.
Yeah, and some of our viewers won't know that you did a circuit teaching at various startup accelerators on behalf of a research project from Rice. So.
Yeah, and I think one of the reasons why I like it college so much is because I love learning and just having like this whole world where the goal is to learn and to create. And that's it. I mean, it's really fun. So
nice. So staying on the work theme then a little bit there, if you think a PhD into the future, 3, 4, 5 years, what does strategic peace look like? And what is it about that vision that really gets you excited?
Yeah. So, I mean, I definitely want to see strategic peace grow in terms of headcounts and companies that we've been able to work with and are continuing to work with. One of the reasons why that excites me is just because like there is so much stuff that I learned and I'm like, oh my gosh, if I had more people, like I could go do these more fun experiments and learn more and have more of an impact. And so I think that really excites me. You know, one of the reasons why I started, you know, because marketing interface predated strategic peace. So I started that in the end of 2014, so 6 years ago now. And I really was sick of watching companies do bad marketing. I'm like, it's not rocket science. And you can do good marketing. And so I'm really hopeful that the stuff that we get to produce is good marketing. And as we grow, then we just get to do more and more of that. So that's it. Help other companies grow our team so that people find their own career fulfillment, you know, through this. And then, I mean, hopefully in 10 years, I mean, sell it or have a lifestyle business and you and I can go, I don't know, open a vineyard.
I like the sound of this plan, as you know. Good life goals there at the end of the journey. All right. So if we could flip a switch and make you an expert in a particular part of business, what would you choose? What would you do with that? Like the genie in the lamp, you get one wish here. You can become amazing, recognized expert in one area of business.
I mean, well, I would love to be one day a recognized expert in marketing. I don't think I'm quite there yet. Working on it. I mean, that's leadership.
Any aspect you like. It's all part of a business.
Yeah. I mean, leadership, part of me would love to combine that with management. You know, I've managed a team before. I don't think I'm a terribly good manager, but I've learned a lot by not doing the right things. And, you know, part of me is I'm like, yeah, I'd love another shot at that to see if I'm better at it. And then obviously, I mean, sales would be great too, because as the owner of a business, I need to be good at sales and
Not your favorite cup of tea.
I'm improving. Well, I think as I view it more and more as a conversation.
Yeah.
And I want to help people find the right solution for their company, not push us. You know, that's really helped me reframe it. And thankfully, like, that's where sales is going. Yeah, I mean, my first job, which was just pure cold calling, I hated, and I cried like 3 times a day in the bathroom at work. I'm not interested in doing that again. But I think that was just that's not the sales I want to do.
Yeah, sales these days is helping the buyer get to the right solution, not cramming your product down their throat.
Yeah, and I think that's what I thought sales was, and I feel like my eyes have been opened. The more I've learned about it, where it's like, that's A, just not a good approach, and B, there's a lot more to it than that.
So another nice segue there, good approach. So tell us some of the ways that you're trying to live a more sustainable life, and how you're getting involved in impact-oriented businesses.
So I try to be very conscious whenever we're purchasing products, whether that's clothes or laundry detergent or whatever in our house. I do go look up the company's About Us page and see if sustainability and fair wages and equality are values in parts of their supply chain and parts of their manufacturing process. Buying less because we can recycle, but just buying. I mean, the good thing is I've never been much of a fast fashion or consumery type of person. I mean, there was a time where that was just my budget.
Yeah.
But even then it was like, oh yeah, I've had that shirt for like 3 years. So just buying less and then being very intentional about who we're purchasing from. And it's not just sustainability. I mean, there are some companies where they're trying to make, I'm thinking of Universal Standard, and they want to make clothing be the most inclusive clothing brand. Right. Well, they're still at a price point that you're not paying for sustainable products at that point, but they're being very inclusive in their clothing, both in terms of size, like just their product, and then their marketing. And I think, it's that kind of stuff that I do think those values are important to support. And for me, it's not one issue all the time. There are, several factors to balance out, and then buying from local small businesses and boutiques rather than the big stores where possible.
And diversity and inclusiveness and all of the above.
And
lots of things to think about, but definitely I know you're a very conscientious person when it comes to actually digging into some of those things before you leap and buy something. You mentioned Liz Gilbert earlier on. Who are some of your other heroes? People that you admire, people whose kind of sound bites that you find particularly helpful or motivating.
Yeah, so there is a group that I joined back in 2015, I think, 2016, called the Female Entrepreneur Association, which is the girliest thing I have ever been a member of in my entire life. I mean, the website is like pink and gold, and it's a bit cheesy, but I swear that has been such a awesome, piece of continuity over several years of now running a business. Their founder is Carrie Green. I think she has great content. I know you laugh as a Brit at her Manchester accent.
I laugh when you pick up her Manchester accent watching the videos. That's what I laugh at. Carrie will be proud.
Yes. But I think she's such a success story, but she also is very empowering and inspiring. And she somehow does do this every week, she does a video and she'll double it up as a podcast, and always seems to be exactly what I need to hear that week. It's very rarely mismatched. Very
on point.
How she does that, but she does a great job of that. So business wise, I really like her as an entrepreneur. Beth Comstock, who is a former CMO, but she is very big in innovation and marketing and creativity. And from a business perspective, I think she's a very impressive female leader. Then my other heroes are Iris Apfel. I mean, what an awesome personal brand. I really like people where they own who they are. They are themselves with no edits to that. And they're passionate about their thing. And I think that's one of the reasons why I really you and I joke that I'm going to like rock being like 80 or 90 years old.
That's right. Can't wait to get to 90 with the big jewelry and the glasses and character. Right?
Oh, and I would do that right now, except you'd probably be mortified if
off camera, please.
Yeah. So I guess I'm not at the point where I'm not yet editing myself. I'm still very much editing myself. But I think she's phenomenal. So I think a lot of writers and creative people, I mean, that's really who I look up to, the Joan Didions of the world. There are people who are, it's like, yeah, they're a tech expert in this particular space. So here's their scientific discovery. And it's like, that's their passionate thing, and they're interesting people. And even if they're really geeky about something, it's so much fun. So, and then I mean, it sounds cheesy, but then the other person I would say has had the most, like, I've looked up to and has influenced me is Princess Diana. Just how good she was with people. I think that was really, I was at a very impressionable age where I kept hearing about that. And I think, I always want to make people feel special and seen and heard. And I think that's been true my whole life. Nice.
I think we've actually probably covered this one, but let's see if you have any other answers to it. So the question we wrote was, what is one misunderstanding or misconception that you wish you could change in our clients' minds? So other than the fact that marketing is boring and it needs to be exciting, what else you got in terms of things? Look, just get this idea, people.
Yeah, I think the other thing that we typically encounter is people that believe it's like, okay, I'm going to hire a marketer and I'm going to put in the tools and the marketing's just going to work. And,
Today.
Today. Yeah, exactly. Yesterday. And it doesn't work that way. Marketing is a series of experiments. We can think through great campaigns and sometimes they're going to flop. Hopefully not that often, and hopefully we learn stuff from them. Right. And the more budget you have, the faster we're going to have those learnings and be able to figure out, why didn't that work? We can put technology in, but if you don't have someone writing content, the tool's just going to sit there. I laughed at Surge. I was using HubSpot in 2012. Surge is where I started using HubSpot. And someone on my team asked, they're like, oh, can we set up this, whatever. It was a workflow that we needed to get set up with some emails. And I said, yeah, but it's going to be like 2 days with everything else. That's when I'm going to be able to get this done. And they looked at me and they're like, but I thought it's automated. And I'm like, well, it's automated once you've built it. But it doesn't, someone's got to go set that up and write the emails. It's not a trivial task. And so I think, when you break down how much is involved in marketing, I think you get a different level of appreciation. It's of all of the things that have to go into it. I had one of our clients recently told me, and they're like, yeah, marketing takes a lot of time. Well, if you want to do it well, it does. And so that's also why we try to get people to focus on a couple of tactics or a couple of channels, is because otherwise it's huge. And you do need an army of people, even if you can have tech making it easier. It's making it easier. It's not doing it.
Yeah, it's not doing the work for you. Similar lines, actually. Once again, great segue. If you could invent a way to automate an annoying task and remove it from your life, what would it be?
I wish I could have some automated thing that would just organize all of my papers and clean my, stacks of papers up. But that's physical stuff. That's not like a piece of software. I had to automate an annoying thing that software could fix. I'd love it if something could read my brain, and so I didn't have to type out an email, or actually go through my inbox. Can you just reply to this stuff without me having to do it? And I mean, the sad thing is, Google or whatever, it's they'll do the here are your suggested snippets. And I think we'd lose some creativity. But at the same time, if somebody could reply to emails where I need to tell that person no, I don't and just get it off my plate, that would be great. An automated no.
All the VA companies watching this are going to be calling you. We have a way to do this. We can do this for you. So this one's a bit more of a social, personal one again, but it's related to this in a way. If you could invite anyone in the world to appear on one of these interviews, and they would say yes, obviously, who would be high on your list to make one of these interview videos with?
So I did say, I mean, Liz Gilbert would be very high, and Beth Comstock would be very high. I mean, I've followed both of them for a very, very long time. I think they have a lot of interesting stuff to say and interesting perspectives. If it was just entrepreneurs, I would say, you know, it's the same people where it's like, oh yeah, these are people that I've looked up to. I will say other people, like kind of trying to think of other people. I have been really impressed this year with the marketing that Drift has done. And, you know, that's automated, you know, that's a messenger and conversational marketing tool. I love their marketing. And I recently heard a podcast from their CEO, David Cancel, and I loved what he had to say. It was a lot about storytelling and storytelling as an internal culture. I just signed up for his weekly newsletter and stuff. Super interesting guy. So he would be really cool to have. Who else? I mean, he's got, and I've heard their VP of customer experience speak before. I think her name is, I'm going to get it wrong, so I'm not going to say it. But we'll add it in the notes. I heard her speak at a conference and she was awesome. So I'm just super impressed with what Drift has done. So someone high up at Drift would be very cool. I think those would be my kind of.
Yeah. Good fun. Let's do it. Let's go make it happen.
Yeah.
So kind of running out of questions and I'm running out of coffee. So a couple more just to...
Probably are sick of me talking about
end on a high note here. Why not? Hopefully this is interesting. It's some interesting insights. So this one's very much about you. Is there something you would especially like to achieve in 2021 before you celebrate your next birthday?
Well, definitely hitting our 2021 business goals, which are pretty ambitious. Yeah. I would really love to see strategic piece. So we're currently a gold tier HubSpot partner. I really want us to get a tier up or two, which would make us diamond, I believe.
Yep.
Platinum and then diamond. And I want to see our YouTube followers grow. I think I really want to get good at video and interviews and having stuff to say.
And anything on the personal side? Those are all very worky.
Those are very worky. Yeah, I think figuring out a way to not spend significant amounts of the summer in Houston.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
I will subscribe. I support this goal for get out of here during the heat in the worst of the summer. All right, last one, and we'll wrap it up. This is back to let's see if your parents are still watching time. So if your parents were naming you now, if they could see you today, I mean, your name Melanie means, I don't know, Princess of Darkness or something, right?
So darkness, mysterious, depressed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're obviously much less mysterious now that we've done a 20 questions interview here. So what do you think your parents would name you if they could see you now and wanted to pick something appropriate?
I think they'd still name me Melanie.
Not Mercedes?
No, not Mercedes, not JoJo, which were the other top, in my dad's mind at least, the top contenders. And JoJo would have been terrible because my maiden name was Jones. So I would have been JoJo Jones.
Nothing wrong with that.
I mean, Mel Bell is pretty interesting, or Mel B.
Yeah. Tell me what you want, what you really, really want.
Exactly.
And on that happy Spice Girls note, we will wrap it up and say that's been a lot of fun. Really enjoyed it. We'll maybe make this a birthday tradition as we move through the year and through the team. And hopefully everybody enjoyed it. If you did enjoy watching this edition of our video podcast, please like it in the YouTube comments below. Leave us comments. Follow our YouTube channel. Follow us on LinkedIn. Join our mailing list. Do all of the above. We'd love to stay in touch. And we'll be back with more a little bit later in 2021. Have a great start to your new year.
Yes. Happy New Year, everybody.